Hi, everybody. How are you? Welcome back to the gathering room. Here we are. I am no longer in a Turkish prison. I did serve my time. In the last two recordings were in my office, which is painted dark gray, which is really fun to be in, but not so much fun to look at as a backdrop. But today the backdrop is more festive, as you can see, and I will be talking about this in a minute when people show up. 7 people are here. Woo, I'm very excited. Yay, it's begun. This is like, it has begun. Every week I'm like, I can't believe you're actually going to show up. And then names start coming up on the screen and it just blows my freaking mind every time. So Ro is putting up names on the screen and I am, Marcia from Alberta. It must be cold up there now. Cottage Grove, never heard of that. Laura says, I'm present. Enlightenment humor. Heart, heart. You must be present to win. Ha, ha. From New Zealand, we got Tiffany Nightingale. How beautiful. All the way from New Zealand. And from Portland, where I thought about moving, actually. And from, where else, Ro? From Sedona, beautiful Sedona. Hug a vortex for me. You'll get that if you've been to Sedona. I'm seeing names go